Being overseas, serving, for my country, was when my wife talked my mom into changing the family trust. My name is Cameron Holt, and I'm 37. I've been in the Army for 17 years, working communications stuff. I was stuck at a forward operating base for the last 9 months, coordinating all the intel stuff. All I thought about was getting back home to Kentucky. I landed back in Lexington, and 3 days later I found the papers in my mom's desk. The family trust, the one my dad set up before he passed, had been changed. Not just tweaked, but totally redone. My wife, Marissa, who I'd been married to for 8 years, was now the main trustee. My mom, Evelyn, was moved way down the list as a secondary beneficiary. The date on the papers was from 4 months into my deployment. I sat in my old bedroom, the one I grew up in, holding the papers, reading them over and over. The house had been in our family for like 3 generations. The land, 15 acres of the prettiest countryside in Kentucky, was supposed to stay in our family forever. That's what my dad wanted. Everything okay in here? Marissa was standing in the doorway, kind of leaning against it, like she always does. Her blonde hair was pulled back, and she was wearing the diamond earrings I'd gotten her for our anniversary 2 years ago. I put the papers back in the folder. Just looking at some stuff, I said. She said, all casual and helpful, your mom's finances were a mess. I fixed everything while you were away. Someone had to, right? I just nodded, couldn't even find my voice. I've been covering all her expenses, taking care of the property taxes, Marissa explained, and the trust needs updating. Your mom was totally on board. Mom was in the living room, glued to some game show, the volume cranked way up. 82 and getting a little repeaty lately. The last few times I'd video chatted with her from overseas, she was all mixed up about the day of the week. Finally, I managed a, thanks for handling everything. I need some time to get settled back home. Marissa smiled. Of course, take as long as you need. That night, long after Marissa was asleep, I sat on the back porch. I stared at the shapes of those old oak trees against the dark sky, wondering what Dad would have done. He was career military too, and always said the person yelling the loudest wasn't always the strongest. Next morning, I kissed Marissa goodbye before she headed off to work at Sundell Financial. I told her I was going to spend the day with Mom. She never saw me slip those trust papers into my jacket. I met Marissa 10 years ago at a coffee shop near Fort Campbell when I was stationed there. She was so smart and driven, and she had this knack for making everyone feel important. We got married within a year. She and Mom hit it off right away, which I was really thankful for, especially after Dad died 5 years ago. He was the responsible one, the one who always planned everything. When Dad got his cancer diagnosis, he made sure everything was squared away. Take care of your mom, he told me on his final day. The house and land stay in the family. That was non-negotiable, he insisted. He set up a trust, which I thought was rock solid. For ages, Marissa had been griping about living in a rental, while we had all that land at Mom's. We could build our own house there, she kept suggesting. I always said no way. That property was supposed to be where Mom spent her golden years peacefully. My deployments got more frequent over the last 3 years. Every time I came back, I noticed little things were different. Mom seemed way more reliant on Marissa. My wife was handling her finances, her meds, her doctor's visits. She's getting forgetful, Cameron, Marissa would say. She needs the help. It all seemed okay, until it wasn't. On my second day back, I took Mom out for lunch, just the two of us. We went to Bellamy's, that little diner she and Dad used to hit up every Sunday after church. How are you really doing, Mom? I asked after we ordered. She gave me a little smile, her hands a little shaky as she drank her water. Oh, getting by. Marissa has been such a help. I saw the trust was changed, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked confused. Was it those papers you signed a few months ago about the house and the property? Mom frowned. Marissa brings me so many papers to sign, bills and things. She explains them, but she didn't finish. I get all turned around in my head sometimes. My gut just clenched up. What sort of paperwork was this? Insurance stuff, bank accounts and all that. She explained it was to safeguard everything while I was gone, that I'd want her managing the money. Mom leaned in closer. Did I mess up, Cameron? I reached out and covered her hand with mine across the table. No, Mom, you did nothing wrong. On the way home, Mom dozed off in the seat next to me. I gave a call to an old pal from the Army who'd gone on to become a lawyer. I kept my voice down as I laid it all out for him. Don't jump the gun, he told me. We need to see how far this goes. 3 days later, I came across the bank statements. I wasn't even looking for them, to be honest. I was in my mom's bedroom, helping her go through some old pictures, when she mentioned wanting to show me this good statement Marissa had shown her. What statement? I asked. From the bank, she told me. Her investments were doing great. I found the folder in her nightstand. Inside were statements from 3 different accounts that I had never seen before. 2 were new joint accounts between Marissa and my mother, giving Marissa access to withdraw. The third was a brokerage account where all the family's long-term investments, almost $400,000 that my dad had worked so hard to build up, had been moved. My hands went ice cold as I started looking through them. There it was, plain as day. $78,000 gone in the last 6 months. Money that had vanished bit by bit, in sums from $5,000 to $15,000 each time. My mom's signature, all shaky, was on every single withdrawal slip. I perched on the bed's edge, those papers scattered around me, looking like a bunch of evidence from a courtroom. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing. It was planned, totally thought out. My mother stood in the doorway, her gaze filled with worry as she watched me. Are the numbers okay? Marissa said not to sweat the small stuff. I carefully collected the statements and flashed a smile at Mom. Everything's good, Mom. Just getting things organized. That night, Marissa wanted to go out for dinner to celebrate me coming back. We ended up at a fancy restaurant downtown and she ordered champagne. She was wearing a brand new dress and the jewelry looked like it cost a fortune. You seem a little out of it, she said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. Still getting used to things, I answered. Just getting my feet under me. I've been doing some thinking, she continued, her eyes shining with excitement. Now that you're home, we should talk about building on your mother's land. I've already talked to an architect, just some initial talks, you know. I took a drink of water. And what about Mom? Oh, we'd take care of her, obviously. But that house is too big for her. There's this really nice assisted living place close to my office. Real exclusive. That's when it all clicked. The trust, the bank accounts, the land. It was all part of a plan. She'd been working on this for ages, just waiting for the right time when I was far away and my mother was at her most vulnerable. I didn't say anything to her. I didn't even yell. I plastered a smile on my face, agreeing with everything she said about this dream house she planned on building on my family's property. I told her I needed a breather, a few weeks to just, chill out, to get back to normal before jumping into anything huge. She seemed bummed, but she went along with it. Sure, she said, take your time. I slipped away to the bathroom and called my lawyer friend. I need everything you've got on elder financial abuse and getting a trust thrown out, I hissed. And I need it ASAP. Heading back to the table, I actually felt sort of peaceful. The sting of being betrayed was awful, but clarity sure did help me focus. About a week later, I set up a meeting with Harold Lerner, an estate lawyer in Louisville who knew his stuff about elder law. I drove the 60 miles by myself, making up some story to Marissa about meeting up with some old army guys. Your mother was probably pressured into this, Harold told me after looking over the paperwork. His office was all packed with law books and it smelled like leather and wood. But proving it won't be easy. Did she have any kind of cognitive tests done around the time she signed all this? I asked. Not that I know of, I leaned in. But she's been forgetting stuff. Names, dates, she asks the same questions over and over. Harold nodded. We'll need a geriatric specialist to check her out. If she's showing signs of not being with it now, we can say she wasn't back then either. I left with a plan. The next day, I took my mom to Dr. Jenkins. This amazing doctor confirmed what I already kinda suspected. Mom's got early-stage dementia. It's probably been brewing for a year or more, she said. Then she hit me with this. Has anyone else noticed these symptoms? And my gut twisted. I had to say, my wife Marissa, she's been looking after Mom while I was overseas. Dr. Jenkins' face got a little tight. And she hasn't seen a doctor about it? Nope, apparently not. So, armed with all this medical stuff, I knew I had to talk to Marissa. Not to accuse her, just to get some answers. We were in the kitchen that night, after Mom was tucked in. I started out saying, look, Mom's showing signs of dementia. Marissa's face changed, subtle as it was. She just said, that's terrible but not a total shock. I've noticed her memory's been going for a while now. Then, she hit me with a question, before or after she signed that trust thing. Her eyes got kinda sharp. What are you implying, Cameron? I kept my voice calm. I'm just trying to figure out the timeline for the doctors, that's all. I've been here every single day taking care of your mother while you were gone, she shot back, getting a little louder. Who do you think's been here? I just nodded. You're right, and I really appreciate it. I just have some questions about some financial things that happened. What financial things? She demanded, her voice all sharp edges now. The changes to the trust, the new joint accounts, the money taken out, I said. That was for her care, she snapped. And household bills, it's all documented. I'd like to see those documents, I replied. Then she stood up real fast. I hate being grilled, Cameron. Especially after all the things I've given up. Your mom agreed to everything, you know. She's got dementia, I mumbled. But they hadn't even diagnosed it yet. Then Marissa snatched her keys off the counter. I need to breathe, she said. We'll talk later when you're not so worked up. And boom, she was gone, slamming the door behind her. I sat there in the kitchen all by myself for ages, listening to the old house creak and settle. The next morning the bank called. Someone had tried to get into my personal savings. An account Marissa wasn't even on. They couldn't get in because they had the wrong password. Later that day, I found a certified letter addressed to Mom. It was from Cornerstone Assisted Living, confirming her move-in. The date was set for next month. The contract had my mother's signature on it, and it was dated just 3 days after I'd gotten back home. When I showed Mom the letter, she was so confused. I don't remember this place. Did I agree to go? Marissa says you did, I said, watching her, and she just shook her head slowly. I don't want to leave my home, Cameron. I promised your dad I'd stay here. That night, I changed all my passwords and put a freeze on my credit. Then I called Harold Lerner again. It's worse than we thought, I told him. And I think she knows I'm onto her. 2 days after I confronted Marissa, I drove to the county clerk's office. I had to see the original trust document myself, not that copy Marissa kept at home. I needed to see the real deal, the official one. So I went to the courthouse and this sweet older lady, Gladys, her hair all silver, got the file for me. Holt Family Trust, she said, checking it. She slid the folder across, and the second I opened it my blood ran ice cold. I saw the notary stamp Lauren Davis. You know this notary? I asked Gladys. She pushed her glasses up her nose and peered at the stamp. Lauren, oh yeah, she's been with Westbrook Law for ages. Westbrook Law, that's where Marissa's college roommate, Vanessa, is a partner. Marissa never said a word about that when she talked about changing the trust. I thanked Gladys and zoomed over to Westbrook Law. The receptionist said Vanessa was in court, but I could talk to her associate, Lauren Davis. Lauren looked totally freaked out when she saw me. You're Marissa's husband, she mumbled, avoiding my eyes. Is there something I can help you with? You notarized a trust amendment for my mother 6 months ago, I said. She just nodded. Yeah, everything was fine. Was my mother alone when she signed it? I asked. She kind of stalled. I don't remember for sure. Let me help you remember, I said, keeping my voice low. Was my wife there? She clammed up. I really can't discuss this. My mother has dementia, Lauren, I said. It's documented. The changes took away Mom's control of stuff she'd owned for ages. And it all went down while I was away, serving my country. Her face went white. Mr. Holt, I think you need to talk to Vanessa about this. I plan to. But first, I said, I need to know if you actually saw Mom sign those papers or if you just rubber-stamped whatever Marissa handed you. She stood up so fast. I think we're done here. That night, I got a call from a number I didn't know. It was Vanessa Westbrook. Cameron, she said, her voice tight. We need to talk. We met at a little cafe, away from the noise. Vanessa was all put together in her suit, but her eyes told a different story. Lauren told me you came by, she started. I want you to know my firm takes the rules about notarizing stuff super seriously. Did your firm write the trust amendment? I asked her. She let out a breath. No, Marissa brought it, already written up. She said your family lawyer had drawn it up, and that you knew about it, and Mom did too. And Mom was there when it was notarized. Vanessa looked down at her coffee. No, Marissa said your mom was sick and couldn't come in. Lauren notarized it because Marissa swore your mom had signed it willingly. That's against the law, I told her straight up. It is. Vanessa looked right at me. And I've already told the state bar about it. We're doing our own investigation. Lauren's not working right now. So, why are you telling me all this? I asked. Because I've known Marissa since we were in college, I just never thought. She just stopped talking. There's more, Cameron, she said. Last year she brought up selling off some of our stuff and moving money out of the country. I figured it was for some client of her company. Now I'm not so sure. My head was spinning. Offshore accounts, getting rid of property, and that assisted living contract. I thought, how long has this been in the works? Vanessa paused. There's one more thing you should know. 3 years ago, Marissa came to me about divorce. She wanted to know about how military pensions and benefits get split up if my deployments would mess with alimony. That totally floored me. 3 years ago. Around the time my deployments really started to pile up, I finally said, "Thanks for telling me." As soon as I left the cafe, I called Harold Lerner again. "I need to get moving," I told him. "She's been plotting this for years." I didn't say anything to Marissa about what I'd found out. Instead, I smiled through dinner that night while she was going on about all the work she wanted to do on the house. I listened as she talked about selling off some of the land to pay for Mom's care. I agreed when she mentioned meeting with a financial advisor to get things sorted. But all the while, I was building my case. Dr. Jenkins gave me a detailed report about Mom's mental state, saying she thought the problems had been going on for at least a year and a half. Harold Lerner jumped into action, filing urgent requests to freeze everything in the trust and the joint accounts Marissa had set up. I got a private eye on the case, and he started digging into Marissa's spending. Designer clothes, fancy lunches with real estate guys, meetings with a luxury homebuilder. The investigator also found something I didn't know about: a separate apartment in Louisville, rented 6 months back under her maiden name, Donovan. About 10 days in, Harold called me with an update. "The judge signed off on our request for temporary guardianship of your mom," he said, "and we have a hearing date next week to fight that trust amendment." That very same day, I started moving my stuff out of the master bedroom and into the guest room. When Marissa asked what was going on, I told her it was because of my sleep problems from being deployed. I told her I was tossing and turning too much. Didn't want to wake her. Honestly, I just couldn't stand the thought of sleeping next to her anymore. 3 days before the hearing, I got a package from the private investigator. It had a flash drive inside with financial records Marissa had tried to erase from her laptop. They showed transfers from my mom's accounts, paying off Marissa's personal credit card debt. Over 40 grand, gone in 6 months. That night, Marissa came into the kitchen. "We need to talk about your mother," she said, her voice soft but serious. "The assisted living place needs an answer by Friday." I looked up from my coffee. "I don't know if that's the right thing for her," Marissa said with a big theatrical sigh. "Come on, Cameron, get real. She can't live by herself anymore, and we can't properly care for someone with dementia." "We've been doing okay," I said. "That's because I've been taking care of everything," she snapped, the irritation starting to show. "But it's just not going to work long term. The place is supposed to be great and the trust will cover the costs." "The trust?" I asked, surprised. "The one you had her sign while I was gone." Something flickered in her eyes, maybe suspicion. Then just as quickly it was gone, replaced by a practiced look of concern. "I did what I had to do. Someone had to take charge and make these decisions." "I appreciate that," I replied, trying to keep my voice even. "But I'd really like to look at some other choices before we move her." Marissa's smile got a little stiff. "The deposit is non-refundable after Friday." "You already made a deposit." "Of course, good places have long waiting lists. I put down 15 grand to hold her spot." She touched my arm. "From her account, not ours, don't worry." I just nodded, filing this new info away. "Let me sleep on it." The next morning, I went to the assisted living place myself. The director confirmed the deposit but seemed confused when I asked about a waiting list. "We don't have one right now," she said. "We have several units available immediately." I asked about the amount. She checked her records. "It says 5,000 here," she said. "Paid by Marissa Donovan." $10,000 unaccounted for, another piece of the puzzle. That afternoon, I tied up the last loose ends with Harold. We had all the proof, all the documents ready to go. The forensic accountant had finished going over the financials. The hearing was tomorrow. Marissa didn't know a thing about it. She'd find out when the sheriff showed up at our door in the morning. I sat on the back porch that night, staring at those old oaks Dad had always loved. For the first time in weeks, I felt almost peaceful. When the sheriff's deputy knocked at 7 a.m., Marissa was still in her robe. I watched from the kitchen as she took the papers, her face going from puzzled to completely stunned as she read them. "What is this?" she asked, whirling around to face me. "It's a court hearing today," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's to overturn the changes to the trust, and to deal with the messed up finances." "Financial." She stopped dead, her face turning bright red. "This is insane, I haven't done anything wrong." "The hearing's at 10 a.m., I said like she hadn't even spoken. "Judge Harriman's courtroom, you might want to call your lawyer." She just stared, the papers shaking in her hand. "You've been setting this up the whole time," she accused, acting like everything was okay. "I learned from the best," I answered. We showed up at the courthouse separately, Marissa with a bunch of lawyers she'd clearly scrambled to get together from her firm, and me with Harold Lerner and my mom. Mom sat next to me, looking tiny but tough as nails. Judge Harriman, a serious woman in her 60s, didn't waste a single second. Okay, so this whole thing started with a hearing, right? They were deciding if the changes made to my grandma Evelyn's trust were legit. Harold, our lawyer, he spent the next 2 hours laying it all out. Dr. Jenkins, this expert, talked about how my mom wasn't in her right mind at the time. Then the accountant went over all these shady money transfers. Vanessa, this notary, testified that the signatures on the amendment weren't done properly. And the pie. Man, he really nailed it. He showed proof of this secret apartment Marissa had, and how the money she said she'd put into Mom's assisted living was totally off. The whole time, Marissa sat there like a statue, whispering up a storm to her lawyers. Finally, it was her turn to talk. She tried to act like she was this saint, the only one looking out for Grandma. She swore she'd given up everything for her, even her career. Said every financial decision was for Mom's good. That's when Harold dropped the bomb. He played these recordings. You wouldn't believe it, Marissa was on them, talking to these real estate guys about building on the land after Grandma was gone. It was all about her making money, cold and calculated. Judge Harriman's face, it went stone cold as she listened to Marissa's voice, laying it all out. The judge's decision, boom. She said it was crystal clear Grandma wasn't mentally capable of signing those trust changes. And it was just as clear Marissa had taken advantage of her and basically stole money from her. It was all over. The judge demanded the trust be put back the way it was, plus some extra stuff saying Marissa couldn't be in charge of anything or get any money. All those joint accounts, gone. Everything went back to Mom. Plus, they were gonna dig deep with a full audit to find every single penny that went missing. And that wasn't all. Judge Harriman said he was handing the whole mess over to the district attorney because it looked like there was elder financial abuse and fraud going on. Marissa didn't even glance my way when she left the courtroom. I didn't bother to watch her go. I turned to my mom instead. She squeezed my hand real tight, and I was surprised by how strong she was. Your father would be proud, she whispered. About a week later, I got Mom moved into our guest house, that little cottage Dad had built a long time ago for his workshop. I got a full-time nurse to help out, using some of the money we'd gotten back from Marissa. I filed for divorce the next day. Marissa didn't fight it. I found out later she'd left Kentucky for Colorado, where her sister was. The apartment in Louisville was just left there, the lease was over. She only took whatever she could carry in 2 suitcases. Sometimes in the evenings, I still go out on the back porch and watch the oak trees sway in the Kentucky wind. The land is still in the family, just like Dad wanted it. I feel good knowing my cousin Jason, who just passed the bar, is co-trustee with me now. Honestly, Marissa doesn't cross my mind much anymore. Some hurts are just too deep, you can't stay mad forever. I concentrate on what's good in my life. Like mornings with Mom over coffee, or weekends when my old army buddies come to visit. It's a real comfort knowing we saved what almost slipped away. My dad always used to say a guy's true character isn't about shouting matches, but about how smart he handles things. Now, after everything calmed down, I get what he was saying.